boils down to taking care of the customers and having the vehicles you want in stock for you to buy.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Good Friday morning, everybody. This is your faithful Senator Vicki Sawyer here, coming from the WSIC studios. You can see us online on all of the social media platforms, unless we have gotten booted off because Representative McNeely had said something again. But I think we're live on everything, and I have someone who's not David here with me today. I have Representative-elect Todd Carver from the beautiful town of Mooresville.
Absolutely glad to be here. Thank you, Vicki, for having me.
Well, I wanted to take this time because you had just finished your training this week. Well, it's really the beginning of training, right?
Yeah, I think I'll probably be in training for maybe the next 6 months to a year, right?
It takes a lot to learn. I still learn something new every day, but I wanted to take this time a little bit to have our listeners get to know Todd both here and in Raleigh, because you are a fresh new face to the General Assembly, not necessarily to politics. But before we get into what we are going to talk about with Todd, we kind of made some news this week a little bit.
Kind of did, didn't we?
Were you in the building when all the protesters were there?
No,
you weren't?
no,
Oh, my goodness. Well, I will say that on Tuesday, we in the Senate met. You in the House will be meeting next week.
Mm-hmm.
There was 3 provisions that we took up. One is a kind of a controversial bill. I don't know if you heard anything about it. Something about power grab and killing democracy and you awful, awful people. You should see my email. Not nice words have been said to me this week about this. But one was to override a bill that we did, which is Senate Bill 382. A lion's share of that was Hurricane Helene relief effort. Remember, guys, this is not what all we're going to do. These are just immediate needs that we had put into the state budget so that we can help those folks in Western North Carolina recover. We have been told by our Senate and congressional delegation in D.C. that they will be doing a large package, hopefully December 20th, and we will then know what the feds are going to do so that we can fill in or match the areas. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to spend the same dollar twice, right?
Right, and wasn't there some kind of thing, too, that if we didn't spend some of the state money, that the Fed money was going to be harder to get,
Absolutely.
or at least harder to justify spending it? Well, if the people there aren't spending it, then why should we spend it at the federal level? So there was definitely a need to get that put in there.
Yeah, but if you just can willy-nilly just start spending money, then really are you doing the right service for the
do
people?
it in the right ways.
Yeah. And Todd, you know about that a little bit because we're going to get into later in the show how you were the chairman of the Iredell Statesville School Board.
What a great time.
It was a great time. I do want to get into it because it's an interesting time, and there's some lessons that I had learned through that, but I think I was very proud about how you handled it and came through it, and now that you're sitting in the State House. But so we did those things for Hurricane Helene, but there was also some politics to play in the bill. One thing that I feel like people are really, really misunderstanding is that we have been trying to make the State Board of Elections bipartisan. So all of you guys knows who are political nerds out there that the State Board of Elections is now administered under the governor's office, and it is whomever the governor is, whether Republican or Democrat, has the majority on the state board, but also all your local boards. So anytime a complaint comes up, usually Democrats win because they have the majority on every board. If you guys remember, we did a boards bill back in the short session where we actually asked for and crafted the board to be bipartisan, right? It was going to be bipartisan, an independent board. It would not have a Republican or Democrat majority. We passed the bill, and guess what? Governor didn't like it.
Vetoed.
Right, because it's more important for a party to have control, right, than it is for both parties to share. So since he vetoed and then we overrode it and now it's in the courts, we decided, well, if you want to have an executive branch function, and after this last election, especially with the Supreme Court, what's going on right now with that race and all the counting of the votes, wouldn't it be best to actually have the Board of Elections under the auditor's office? Now, the auditor works with numbers all the time, right? And it seems like it's just right in their wheelhouse, and it's a natural place to put it. So if the governor didn't want us to actually have a bipartisan Board of Elections, let's just send it over to the people who actually understand numbers.
Yeah, I think that's a great. I just personally think it's a good move.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're trying to bring transparency, I mean, who better than an auditor?
Yeah.
To bring that transparency to us, and so that having that control in the auditor's office, and I've heard people say, well, what if the next election it flips to Democrat? Well, then it's still,
Yeah.
if it's a good idea, it's a good idea. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's the Republicans in charge or the Democrats in charge. And so, I just think that's a good policy move. I really do think that's a good policy move for the whole state of North Carolina, is to get to a place where that Board of Elections is less partisan.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you probably know because of your time in local government, but our former auditor, Beth Wood, who was a Democrat, she was not partisan anyway. She would slap faces no matter who it was. If you were messing with the state money, she's coming after you.
And isn't that what we want? I mean, that's what I want in an auditor. I mean, I want somebody who's, it's not a pre-baked cake. I mean, I want somebody who's going to objectively look at the facts.
Yeah.
And make a determination, and let's move forward.
That's
there.
right.
Yep.
I completely agree. Another thing that I'm super excited about, I know our brethren, well, at least not my brethren, but your brethren, because you're former law enforcement, the state troopers, in part of this bill, we're going to take out them to be answering under the governor to an independent agency, kind of like the State Bureau of Investigations. I mean, so the governor gets to choose who will be leading that, or the colonel, but then it has a Senate and House approval, very similar to the State Board of SBI. So both of those agencies and law enforcement will be independent of political control. And that, to me, again, is a big move.
Just it seems like a no-brainer. I mean, I think most people would be surprised to hear that it did have that political connotation to it, and I think so. That's a good move as well. Will the term of the colonel be like the SBI director, where it's like a 10-year term?
I think maybe 6.
Okay.
I'll have to double check that in
that's
there.
That's great. I mean, because that's going to give
bill.
the person some autonomy right there.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of respect for the way they do their jobs, and I think it's good for them to have that nonpartisan top of the the heap there. It really needs to be that way. And so that would be a good thing for all of us as North Carolinians as well.
Yeah. I think maybe this is a move that we should have done before the election, because, we did have the supermajority for, 2 years, and it's something that we could have done. And I think the timing of it may be some of the reasons why I've been accused of destroying democracy. Guys, we're not a democracy. We're a representative republic. If we were a democracy, everybody would vote on everything every day. So let's remember that. But no, it's just good moves. Understand the timing may make folks a little bit weird about that, but it's just absolutely just good government.
Good policies should be good policy no matter what time of day
I
it is.
agree.
I mean, and so, and if we determine later on that this wasn't a good move, I mean, it can always be, it's always something that could be, reconciled at a different time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for listening to We're Just Saying. We're here with Representative-elect, not yet Representative, soon to be, Todd Carver from District 95, and your Senator Vicky Sawyer. We'll be right back.
We'll return with more of NC Senator Vicky Sawyer, and We're Just Saying after this short break on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, along with all your Amazon packages, the cold weather's been delivered again, too. Bitterly cold today, even with plenty of sunshine. High temperatures stay stuck in the low 40s. We go back down to around 20 in the overnight hours, although over the weekend things start to get a little bit better. We're in the upper 40s by Saturday afternoon, even some folks approaching the low 50s, and a little closer to 60 by Sunday. Looking to bring in rain back into the forecast early next week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Serenity Now Massage Therapy.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Christmas in Davidson returns on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Santa's arrival and the tree lighting ceremony will be Thursday, December 5th at 6 p.m. on the town green. Christmas in Davidson runs nightly from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Thursday through Saturday. The lighting of the downtown Statesville Christmas tree is set for Thursday, December 5th. Enjoy classic holiday songs at 6 p.m., watch Santa arrive in style, and see the tree lit at 6:45. Train rides will be available to kids of all ages, while horse-drawn carriage rides will surround you with sights and sounds of the holidays. Then on Friday, make plans to stop by Statesville City Hall for the Shop and Stroll and Santa Central. See you Thursday and Friday in downtown Statesville for Christmas and holiday fun. This Friday, downtown Mooresville presents the first of 2 Mistletoe Sippin' Shops. Downtown's unique shops and businesses will offer open houses, store specials, treats, and more. Bring your favorite people and enjoy shopping small this holiday season. Downtown Mooresville hosts the Mistletoe Sippin' Shop Friday from 6 p.m. until 8 along Main and Broad Streets. The North Mecklenburg Holiday Parade will take place Saturday at 1 p.m. The parade begins in Davidson and follows Highway 115 to the conclusion on Catawba Avenue in Cornelius. Visit townofdavidson.org for information. Speedway Christmas at Charlotte Motor Speedway is happening now through Sunday, January 5th. The Holiday Light Show features more than 5 million lights on a 4-mile course through the oval, pit road, and infield. Speedway Christmas tickets and information are available at charlottemotorspeedway.com. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
It's We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vicky Sawyer on 105.9 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Well, welcome back to We're Just Saying. I'm Senator Vicky Sawyer here with Representative-elect Todd Carver. We are going to get to know more about Todd because I know folks in Raleigh have been asking about you and asking me, and I've been saying all wonderful things, of course, except for that one thing. No, I'm kidding. And no, all wonderful reports, and I'm excited for your service. A couple things I forgot to mention that happened this week in the General Assembly, at least in the Senate, and we're waiting for it to happen in the House. We actually passed a joint resolution that limits the terms for Congress or has congressional term limits. So this is a Convention of States idea. There's Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution that when 34 of the 50 states votes to hold a convention, then we actually have the power and taken back the power from Congress because I don't think they're going to term limit themselves. It seems like they've had...
No, I wouldn't foresee that happening.
I think there's plenty of opportunities. And actually, I thought something was really interesting, and Senator Todd Johnson said this. I can't remember if it was in caucus or on the floor, but it was a really good point because someone had said, well, why don't you term limit yourself? And I thought, well, actually, that's fair. Why aren't we going to term limit ourselves? But really, when you look at Congress, I mean, they make a ton of money being in Congress. So it is actually a professional career for them. Us as state House reps, this is actually cost us money to go. Right? I mean,
I'd be more than happy to discuss it with
yeah,
anybody.
I know. So we actually are part-time legislature, and we do not make hardly any money. It's about $1,000 a month, $1,200 a month,
$13,951.
Yeah.
And I believe 13 cents.
So it's pretty hard to make a career off of below minimum wage. Yes. So that was one of the thoughts, and I thought it was really good. So we passed that. We joined 9 other states for calling in convention for congressional term limits. 2 other things to be on the ballot coming to you if the House should be able to pass them next week. 1, to cap the state income tax rate at 5%. So the reason why it's important to put this in the Constitution is so that if a General Assembly comes back, then they cannot increase your taxes above 5% unless they take it back to the voters. And I don't think I could see voters really voting for it.
I don't imagine that would be a very popular.
No, I don't. Not unless
referendum.
Not unless you're in Mecklenburg County. It seems like they seem to vote a lot for tax increases. But so that was one constitutional amendment. And the second one that will be coming to a ballot near you, if the House should pass it, is voter ID. Now, the Constitution now says that it's for in-person voting that you have to prove an ID, which seemed wildly popular.
Very logical.
Very logical. But it doesn't say for absentee ballots. So this will basically just take out the in-person provision and actually make it for both in-person and absentee ballots that you will have to present an ID. And that will be something that you, the voter, will be deciding next election. So those are the other things going on.
Yeah, and that absentee ballot, that's always been one that's really I've been very interested in because, as a service member,
Yeah.
when I was stationed in Germany, that was how we had to vote.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that was the way you had to do it. And so I didn't miss that election.
Yeah.
I was able to participate. But if I had to send a copy of my driver's license or my, my military ID, something to justify, I mean, of course I would have.
Yeah.
It was all about participating in the process.
Yeah.
And so, I want to be careful on the side that we don't do anything to, restrict people's ability to participate in the election because I
Absolutely.
want as many people in the fold as we can possibly put. But it just doesn't seem like an unreasonable thing. If I'm going to require it in person, I shouldn't
Yeah.
be exempted from it because I'm,
Right.
stationed in some place.
Yeah.
Providing a copy of your driver's license is not a huge hurdle to cross in order to be able to participate in your government.
No,
And so-
especially when we all have like scanners. I mean, our smartphones can pretty much do anything right now.
They're coming out with a new digital driver's license.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that'll be a nice leap into the 21st century.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, there
for
are other
DMV,
states.
that'll be a huge one.
There are other. Oh my gosh, DMV. We actually had a provision in this year's budget for them to study that and to get with it. I remember when I first got to be DOT chair, the then liaison came up to me. She goes, "Hey, look, we're gonna have digital driver's license." That's been like 4 or 5 years ago now. It's not gotten any further.
Wow.
So I think that's something that we definitely need to have. It wouldn't
Sure.
be cool to. I mean,
Sure.
other states do it.
What's the problem? I mean,
Oh, DMV is the problem.
I know,
man.
right?
It's
the bureaucracy, and that's the only thing. I've heard this debate before about with term limits, and sometimes when you limit the amount of experience you can have in a legislative body,
Mhm.
the people who then have the power are
Oh yeah.
the bureaucrats behind the scene, and so you got to be careful with that one as well. I think it's a very delicate dance to do. But I can certainly see, the why behind us.
So always said with term limits, like if you're going to term limit me,
Mhm.
then you need to term limit lobbyists and staff.
Yep.
Right. So let's just do it all and term limit all because otherwise the inmates will be running the asylum.
That's right.
So they're not
that's-
really inmates,
well,
guys.
that-
I'm just, but that's
But that's
kind of
the
thing.
part that people don't really stop to consider
Right.
when you're talking about term limits is that, hey, if the representative's only allowed to be there for, say, I don't know, 2 terms, 3
Right.
terms, 5 terms, whatever the number you come up with, then the power goes to the staff
Yeah.
people who are behind the scenes
Right.
because they're the ones who are there 20 and 30
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And so you just got to be careful that you don't. Sometimes it's better to dance with the devil than than the devil you don't know.
One of the biggest issues or problems that have faced, and it's really, and you're going to have this experience too as a freshman legislator, is, how do you catch up? Because staff works there 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, year round, and they're people. They are humans too. So they're going to have opinions, and they're going to be able to put their opinions into legislation. And it's very hard because you want to say, hey guys, you didn't eat the barbecue, right?
Mhm.
Like you don't
Put
know
your
where,
name on the ballot.
right? And so it's a delicate dance because you need them, but it's also you have to be able to learn how to navigate that institutional knowledge. And if you don't have it yourselves, then they're going to just absolutely take everything over.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you got to be really, really careful with
Yeah.
that.
Well, I want to get into you.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Let's talk about it.
Let's. I feel like Dr. Phil. Okay, now tell me about your childhood. No, actually, do tell me about your childhood. You were born and raised in Iredell County.
In Mooresville, yep.
In
Grew up on
Mooresville.
East Lawrence, down in the Mill Village
Yeah.
at Mooresville. And grew
Mooresville
up there,
High
went to
School?
Mooresville High School, was a Blue Devil.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, you still are a Blue Devil. I guess.
still am a Blue
Yeah.
Devil. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And although my kids went to Lake Norman High School, so I got a little Wildcat streak in me too.
Sure,
So,
but your heart bleeds blue.
it does.
Both of them.
And so, very honored just to have called Mooresville my home
Yeah.
all my life, except for when I was in the service. And I did there was about a year and a half I lived up off of Buffalo Shoals Road, but I was a Mooresville police officer at the time. So, I was coming back to town every day to work. So it never felt like I left. So I always like to put that little caveat in there.
Yeah, a lot of change, right?
Ton
So
of change.
I'm
I can
assuming
remember
like you're like I'm 49 years old. I'm feeling like we're similar to the same age. So
52.
okay, so you have seen Mooresville go from a one stoplight town.
I remember when Joe Pewitt came to talk to us in the library at Mooresville Junior High School, and we learned how to. For some reason, he was teaching us how to use an almanac, and we looked up the population of Mooresville, and it was like 8,837 people at the time.
Oh wow!
And and to think what it's become today, I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, just in Mooresville proper, you've got
Right.
5 times that. Not to mention the people on the outskirts where you and I live.
Mm-hmm.
That there's 90,000 people in the southern end of Iredell
Right.
County. I mean, that's my district,
Yeah.
95. So
Right.
is approximately 90,000 people.
Mhm.
So to see that growth, I can remember when we used to have to go to Statesville to the Gateway 4 to watch a movie, and now and now the people in Statesville are coming to Mooresville to watch a movie.
My husband tells a story about how when he did driver's ed,
Mm-hmm.
that they would take him out Brawley School Road because
Nobody was there.
Nobody was there, and now we got Trump National Golf Course and
It was a pine thicket, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's the same story that you're going to see across North Carolina. These small, sleepy towns who are now, juggernauts like Mooresville, and pain and growth. But there's also benefits in growth.
But there's benefits in growth, and when I retired from the sheriff's office, and so one of my things that I always used to say to folks when I was a member of the sheriff's office was that the growth is what's allowed us to continue to provide the level of services we have at the tax rate we have.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We could have provided more services with a higher tax rate. There's a reason you came here,
Mhm. Yeah.
There's a reason you left that $4 and $5 tax
Mhm.
valuation and came to our 54.5 cents.
Yeah, it's lower now.
There's a whole lot of reasons to be here,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a lot of value in that growth.
Right.
We just need to manage it as best we possibly can.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's where we just have to the flies in the ointment.
We only have a few like 30 seconds left here, but I do want to say something. Now I am relatively new to Mooresville. I moved here in 1997.
Okay.
So, but I am Southern. I mean, I grew. You can tell by my voice.
Right.
But the biggest complaints about growth that I get in my office, and folks cussing me, are folks who moved here like a year ago or 2 years ago. And I just want to go, guys, don't you think the folks who were born and raised here?
We understand.
We understand.
We get it.
We get it. But what do you think?
We
The
get
gate
it.
should close as soon as you move down here?
Well, I always used to say,
Yeah.
hey, it's that interstate, it runs north and south.
It does.
It's always you can relocate again, but
We love you guys being here, and we understand your pain. But remember, there were people here before you that you got here that will do it.
my
But
neighbor Jim, I know he's listening right now, and he's from Maryland. And Jim, I'm not talking to you. You don't need to go back to Maryland.
well, thank you for listening to We're Just Saying. We're with Representative-elect Todd Carver, Senator Vicky Sawyer. Join us after the break.
There's more We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vicky Sawyer on the way from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, along with all your Amazon packages, the cold weather's been delivered again, too. Bitterly cold today, even with plenty of sunshine. High temperatures stay stuck in the low 40s. We go back down to around 20 in the overnight hours, although over the weekend things start to get a little bit better. We're in the upper 40s by Saturday afternoon, even some folks approaching the low 50s, and a little closer to 60 by Sunday. Looking to bring in rain back into the forecast early next week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
New lunch specials now available at Mooresville's best Italian spot, Pomodoro's. Open Tuesday through Sunday and ready to serve you the best Italian this side of the motherland. View the mouth-watering menu at pomodoros.com.
This holiday season, give a gift the entire family can enjoy. A home upgrade with propane from G&B Energy. A roaring fire at the flip of a switch. An endless supply of hot water that ends the shower wars. Made possible with propane and G&B Energy. Even better, rebates worth hundreds are available on many propane installations by G&B Energy. If you receive damage from Hurricane Helene, rebates could be worth double. Visit G&B Energy to save or learn more at gbeenergy.com.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
This holiday season, visit Nina's Boutique and Antiquity. Whether it's a festive outfit or the perfect gift, we have something special waiting for you. Happy holidays from Nina's Boutique.
No radio? No worries.
Just ask Alexa to play WSIC.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. As new vehicle prices hover near record highs, with the average more than $48,000, according to Kelley Blue Book, the average age of a vehicle on the road keeps going up. Its typical passenger car in use 30 years ago was 8.4 years old. Now it's 13.6 years old. That means this should be boom times for auto parts stores and repair shops. But the Wall Street Journal says people appear to be deferring repairs, upgrades, and regular maintenance to the detriment of the auto fix-it business. We're using a lot of electricity, and it's going to increase even more. Grid Strategies forecast demand for electricity will surge 16% over the next 5 years, more than triple the estimate from a year ago. The increase is driven by new data centers and factories projected to suck up more power. Following today's report showing stronger than forecast rise in November job creation, Wall Street is rising. Dow up 0.1%, S&P up 1/3, NASDAQ up 0.75%. Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Radio.
Number one for talk in Lake Norman, Statesville.
105.9, 100.7, WSIC. Now more We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vicky Sawyer on 105.9, 100.7, WSIC.
Well, welcome back to We're Just Saying. This is Senator Vicky Sawyer here with Representative-elect Todd Carver, who we're going to remove the elect portion probably on, the second or third? You said you make it sworn up?
January 1st is our official
start?
Yeah, and then I'm going to do a swearing ceremony. I'm hoping on the 2nd. So,
okay, very good. Well, hopefully you'll invite me, and I can be around to come in, attend, and wish you all the well.
I wouldn't do it without you.
Oh, good. Well, what is that old saying? First you get sworn in.
And you get swore at.
Then you get swore at. That's right. Well,
It's
welcome
coming.
to the jungle, baby. We'll be fine. No, you'll do great because you actually have a history with being elected before. But before we get into that, I do want to talk about how I first met you.
Okay.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was.
It was long. So at the time, it was Sheriff Darren Campbell's for Iredell County Sheriff, who's now the president of the Sheriff's Association. It was his first election.
I believe it was, yeah.
And you were on your off time and probably one of the most dedicated, loyal electioneers out there. And we would stand, let's see, it was cold. It was rainy at some points. It was hot.
A little bit of everything.
It was a little bit of everything. And we stood across each other at the War Memorial, and it was so much fun. Now, we didn't agree on one thing. Of course, I wanted Sheriff Darren Campbell to win, but it was something else that was on the ballot that we kind of disagreed about. But we kind of came back and forth, and it was great. It was like, this is really a nice guy. But when you spend about 8 hours a day with someone begging for votes,
you get to know them.
You get to know them. Really
you do get to
well.
see their character.
Yeah, I know.
So you get to see, what they're really made of out there. Yeah. So we were definitely there working the poll together, and I mentioned to you that that just a dream come true for me would be to represent the 95th House District, because it was Mooresville. It was just my community. It was a place that I've called home my whole life. And so, I said, hey, if that thing ever was to come open, I sure would be interested in running for that.
Yeah.
And, we in my lifetime, we've been very fortunate. We've had some really great representation with, Karen Ray and John Fraley and obviously with Gray. When Gray was not going to be running this current term,
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, wow, if it's not now, it's never. Hush up about it. You
Yeah.
know? It's time.
Yeah.
It's time to do it. And so I was really excited to see the opportunity.
Okay, we got to tell the inside story. So Gray Mills, who is a lovely man and big friend, had called and said that he was going to run for Congress.
Right.
And I and my David Coble, the co-host here, we were sitting there going through names and like, oh my gosh, well, if Gray's going to run for Congress, good for him. But we got to do something about the House seat. Who's going to be the House seat? And your name came up. And David Coble goes, call him now. Call him right now. So I pick up the phone, and you told me this later, I think. I pick up the phone, and I said, well, hey, Todd Carver, I don't talk to you very much, but how are you doing? And you said to your wife, why is Vicky Sawyer calling her something? You're like, probably to ask me to run for something. And sure as sugar,
Yep.
it was to ask you to run for the House seat.
That was it. I tell people I was watching Andy Griffith. I was minding my own business. And so yeah, I was really honored to get the phone call and really it is truly an honor.
Right.
And I was up there this week doing our orientation, and people were asking, hey, what's your like your big thing? And I was like, my big thing's to serve my folks back home.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say I have a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, hey, I'm going up there to serve my community
Mm-hmm.
and do the best I can with that.
Mm-hmm.
And if they like the job I do, they'll send me back in 2 years. And if they don't, I'll go find something else to do.
Yeah.
So, that's what it's about for me.
Yeah.
And I told this story to another neighbor of mine. We were walking around the block the other day that when I joined the Air Force, I remember the drill instructor asking us, hey, why are you here? And my dad had told me, don't answer, unless you're asked a question, don't offer anything. Keep your eyes and ears open and mouth shut.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, only reason to be here would be to serve my country, And there are people putting their hands up for travel. I'm here for GI Bill. I want to go here, there, wherever.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, guys don't have the right answer, but I wasn't going to say anything. And sure enough, the drill instructor then chewed us out because nobody said that we were there to serve our country.
Oh, yeah.
And so that is
Yeah.
really, and it sounds corny to people, but that really is why I
Right.
wanted to go and
Yeah.
why I'm really looking forward to being there.
Mhm.
It's a sacrifice, being away from your family and things as you know.
Mhm.
But I am really looking forward to just having the opportunity to I guess speak for my community,
Yeah.
and to be a voice of reason.
Mhm.
That's what I've always tried to. That's who I've tried to be. It's
Right.
just somebody who is the reasonable person
Yeah.
to talk to.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to want you talk about a little bit about the school board,
Sure,
and
let's do it.
that was my thing there too. Was
Mhm.
hey, let's not be too far either direction on this.
Right.
Let's be middle of the road here and do our best to serve those students. And that was with a population of 20,000 students, and their parents and families. Now it's just a much bigger audience.
So
there,
for those of
bigger
us
field of
who,
representation.
yeah, so those of us who are not familiar with Todd, I do want to remind you that he did serve not only our community in law enforcement, and still does, because you are the instructor or the lead of the program for Mitchell Community College for basic law enforcement training, correct?
Now actually doing the fire and EMS training too.
Fire
So,
and wow.
So the public safety director, I'll end up resigning that position in January,
Okay.
so that I can go to Raleigh.
Yeah.
Because even though they say it's part time, it's really
It's not.
it's a huge commitment.
It is what you make it. If
Yep.
you want to be effective, then you better darn well be there.
Well, and I took to heart something you told me early on. Is you said you can be as effective as you choose to be, and I choose to be present. I choose to be there and to represent my community. So I really am looking forward to that. So I am going to resign my position with the college.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, okay. So I think if any lobbyists are listening, there's a couple things they just perked up. Okay. One, community college folks. I'm sure you're excited to know that there's one of you coming into the General Assembly. Also, law enforcement and EMS and those folks, because that is an intricate part of policy that, like, legislators like me who do not work or do not teach in that area make decisions on, that we may need to lean on folks like you, Todd, to kind of guide us through those things. Like, so reverse of that is like I'm a dreaded insurance agent, you know, like I'm a politician and an insurance agent. So I pray double at night so I can get into heaven. But yeah, so when it comes to insurance things, they look at me. But then when because we are a team, when it comes to those type of things, I mean, we really can lean on you. I mean, Representative McNeely, he has the ag portion of it.
Sure.
I'm doing transportation and insurance, and now I think you really round out the group with your law enforcement.
And that's important. I mean, nobody can be a subject matter expert in everything. I mean, because then you're an idiot.
Right. Then you're a master of none,
you think
right?
you know everything,
yeah.
and you don't.
Oh, my gosh, yeah, I know.
So, having a broad base of knowledge, that we've been able to build a career on.
Yeah.
And what I tell people about public safety is the one branch of government that will come to your house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no other branch of government that will come and do door-to-door service for you.
Right.
Sometimes they take you away. Sometimes they take you to the hospital.
I know.
But it is that part of the government that comes and delivers that service. So
Yeah.
I definitely hope to be able to offer that insight.
Yeah.
Not something I've read about or studied about, but I mean,
you teach
I've done that.
Yeah, you teach it, and you've read and interpreted the law and your entire career and been through all that. So, I mean, I think you being in this General Assembly is going to be a great service, not only to Mooresville, Iredell County, but also to the state. Now, let me tell you, one of the reasons why I was really excited about Todd to step up and run for this position, and it was controversial, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
You had the most thankless job ever during COVID. You were the chair of the Iredell Statesville School Board, and you were the punching bag for every mad mama when they had to deal with Governor Cooper's overreach and COVID mandates, and you were being told you were personally liable if you do not follow the health department. I mean, it was complex. It was difficult. And you had so many folks who supported you, but also a few who were just ravenous and nasty towards you. And you handled it like a charm. I mean, you just stayed steady.
I really believe that, as when I was the chairman of the school board, and then as just a member, our priority was to keep the school open. I mean, that was the priority, was to keep kids getting educated. Because if the school board serves no purpose, if you're not there to educate kids, what are you doing?
Right.
And so I made that my guiding principle there, was that, hey, I was going to do whatever we could to keep the school open. And that there were times I voted to do things people liked, and there were times I voted not to do those things. And it was all about keeping the school open. Because that's what we really, really needed to get done. And I think during that time period, Iredell showed growth that others
they did.
The other systems weren't able to show, because we got back in there early. We got back in there as quick and hard and fast as we could.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
we'll talk more about that after the break. So thank you so much for listening to We're Just Saying. I'm Senator Vicki Sawyer, here with Representative-elect Todd Carver, coming to you from District 95. And we will be right back after the break.
Stay with us. We'll have more of We're Just Saying with NC Senator Vicki Sawyer after this short break on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, along with all your Amazon packages, the cold weather's been delivered again, too. Bitterly cold today, even with plenty of sunshine. High temperatures stay stuck in the low 40s. We go back down to around 20 in the overnight hours, although over the weekend things start to get a little bit better. We're in the upper 40s by Saturday afternoon, even some folks approaching the low 50s, and a little closer to 60 by Sunday. Looking to bring in rain back into the forecast early next week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here Here's your WSIC community calendar. Christmas in Davidson returns on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Santa's arrival and the tree lighting ceremony will be Thursday, December 5th at 6 p.m. on the town green. Christmas in Davidson runs nightly from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Thursday through Saturday. The lighting of the downtown Statesville Christmas tree is set for Thursday, December 5th. Enjoy classic holiday songs at 6 p.m., watch Santa arrive in style, and see the tree lit at 6:45. Train rides will be available to kids of all ages, while horse-drawn carriage rides will surround you with sights and sounds of the holidays. Then on Friday, make plans to stop by Statesville City Hall for the Shop and Stroll and Santa Central. See you Thursday and Friday in downtown Statesville for Christmas and holiday fun. This Friday, downtown Mooresville presents the first of 2 Mistletoe Sippin' Shops. Downtown's unique shops and businesses will offer open houses, store specials, treats, and more. Bring your favorite people and enjoy shopping small this holiday season. Downtown Mooresville hosts the Mistletoe Sippin' Shop Friday from 6 p.m. until 8 along Main and Broad Streets. The North Mecklenburg Holiday Parade will take place Saturday at 1 p.m. The parade begins in Davidson and follows Highway 115 to the conclusion on Catawba Avenue in Cornelius. Visit townofdavidson.org for information. Speedway Christmas at Charlotte Motor Speedway is happening now through Sunday, January 5th. The Holiday Light Show features more than 5 million lights on a 4-mile course through the oval, pit road, and infield. Speedway Christmas tickets and information are available at charlottemotorspeedway.com. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Now back to We're Just Sayin' with North Carolina Senator Vicky Sawyer on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to We're Just Saying. I'm Senator Vicky Sawyer, live here from the WSIC news station with Representative-elect Todd Carver, who is going to be coming to you live in Raleigh beginning in January when we have our opening ceremonies and swearing in, and then we will be off and running. He has been working hard to get to know the language and the business, and was in Raleigh this week meeting your fellow freshmen.
Yes.
Folks, are there a lot of freshmen, Senator,
It was,
or House
30
reps?
of us.
30.
There's
Oh,
30,
gosh.
if I'm not mistaken. There's probably 20-ish of us there.
Yeah.
Because there were a few folks who they considered freshmen, but they had already been appointed and
I
sworn in
gotcha.
and had been working already. So that it was a good number.
Yeah, I have to admit something. It's kind of sad, but sometimes I'll go in and look on the House floor and just sit and listen to if I have like a few minutes to kill and I don't want to walk back to my office, and I listen to the session, and it's kind of nice to see folks. And every time I go in there, I see somebody I didn't know. It's like, there's so many. There's like 120 of you guys. It's hard to remember who everybody is. So this session, I'm going to try to make sure I know everybody in the house.
As long as I'm welcome to do the same thing on your side.
Always. As long as you got your pin on, the sergeant at arms, you're welcome to walk
There
on the
you go.
floor.
There you
So we were talking about, kind of a tough time in everybody's life, whether you're elected or not, which was COVID. And the role that you played as the school board chair and then also as a member. But during the break, we had mentioned, and, I affectionately call myself a school board dropout because I ran for school board and didn't win. Thank you, Martin Page. Really, thank you, Martin Page. Because I think there's a misconception of the power that a school board member or school board actually has. I mean, you really have the power to hire and fire a superintendent.
That one job. That's
it.
Yeah, and then the superintendent dictates the policy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things we did when I was there was, some people will sometimes forget that we did decide to go in a little bit different policy direction. And Dr. James, we had hired him to take us a little bit different direction. And so that was one of the challenges. Most of the money that comes to the Iredell Statesville school systems was earmarked either federally or from the state.
Yeah.
Hey, it has to go to this program, it has to go to transportation, it has to go to food, it has to go to whatever. So a very small percentage of the total budget was what you would call discretionary spending. And then that's there you're going on the recommendation again of the superintendent.
Yeah.
So here's where the superintendent decides that or recommends that we spend it, and then the school board takes action on that. And so, you know, I always used to say that you can, if you want to truly say what you think, join the school board, because you're not going to make anybody happy. There's definitely a winner and a loser to every discussion, every issue that comes up. And I feel like the General Assembly will be a lot like that. You know, there's somebody who wants you to do something, and then somebody does want you to not do something on basically every issue. So it produces winners and losers.
Yeah.
I guess in a sense. But that's our process, and the process is designed to vet those ideas and to get those ideas as much sunshine as possible. And if they're good, they move forward, and if they don't, they die.
I know. I know.
That's really as simple as it is.
Yeah. I look at some of those folks who serve at the local and state level who have chosen to be lightning rods for certain social issues or any kind of issue, especially during COVID. And it seems like they can tend to be a flash in the pan because, you know, reasonable people like you have the ability to serve and serve for a long time. Whether you choose, you know, what someone thinks is right or wrong, as long as you have a reasonable and thoughtful decision-making process and articulate that to those who are willing to listen. That's a big deal, willing to listen. Some people are just not willing. Then I think you get the respect of those that you represent. And that's a big deal. One of the reasons why we do this radio show, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, is so those folks who love you will love you more, and those folks who were fussy about you will understand that you really are reasonable and you are doing the best that you could with the tools that you were given.
That's it. And I heard someone say one time that you can judge me on the decisions I've made if you understand the options I had at the time.
Right.
And so I think that's very important. And I think all people want is somebody to be reasonable,
right,
to be heard, hear them out, whether you agree with them or not. And then, you know, at the end of the day, it's
do your best.
Do your best.
We're all human.
To represent as many people as you possibly can. And that's my goal.
Yeah.
That's my goal is to be a great representative. I choose to be a really good representative.
Yeah.
One of my big things I want to do is you know, communicate things back home as best I can. You know, creating opportunities for us to talk. I mean, I think is part of the missing. You know, the dialogue. So to let the folks at the town and the school board level and the you know, the county commissioners know, hey, here's what we see coming. You're not gonna. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't see everything coming, but here are things I see on the horizon that we can maybe anticipate. Maybe I can stop them. Maybe I can't. I probably can't. You know, but we can at least plan for them.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think that's what people are looking for is just somebody never going to lie to you. I may not tell you what you want to hear, but I'm not going to lie to you.
That's true.
And let's just work together to get things done.
Yeah, and I think that is such a nice quality. So now that I've been serving for a little bit, I think I was like kind of on a tear a couple months ago, and folks were coming into my office. I just kind of told them how I felt. Like I feel like it's almost better to have a conversation about my thoughts openly instead of just smiling and nodding and make you think like maybe you convinced me, maybe you didn't. Where are you at? I think it's actually more humane and kind in a conversation to have that open dialogue with someone, whether they like it or not, because maybe they can actually present a point of view that you didn't know. But if you're not, if you're sitting there doing a yes man kind of thing, then where are you getting here?
I've really all my career believed that your integrity is the one thing you cannot give up. And so that's an important component for me. And you know, this week that was one of the, when we had our ethics training, that was one of the things that they talked to us about, was saying that, hey, you know, you gotta be careful with that because you know, once you lose it, it's gone forever and you're never going to get it back. So there may be people who disagreed with some of those decisions that I made, you know, going back to come full circle with here, what you're talking about. I'm not going to deny them. I'm going to say, hey, I made the best decisions I could with the options that I had at the time.
Right. Even Trump was a big Fauci fan. Remember at the beginning of COVID? I mean, we were flying that thing while we were building that airplane while we were, putting the engine in. So we all made different things that maybe you look back, but you didn't have that hindsight back then.
When two always agree, one is not needed.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that. So now I'm hearing from folks now. Okay, so you got the law. So you got the military, then you've got the law enforcement, the EMS, fire service, and school board. And Native North Carolina, I mean, you kind of got the whole thing wrapped up there, buddy. I think you're doing good.
Just gonna go out there and see what happens.
Yeah,
right?
I know. And everyone seems to issue advice to new reps and all that other stuff. And truly, it is just what you make of it. So I'm not going to issue any advice because I think I did everything wrong when I went up there. I'm hard-headed and stubborn, and I built myself a nice little island all by myself. And I looked around and I was like, this isn't good. I can't be effective if I keep on like bucking every decision. I've got to understand how to work within the system in order to get things done. So I'm not going to give you any advice because I didn't do it right the first time.
Yeah, I think somebody said to me, you don't want to always be the stick in the mud. You don't want to always go along with everything either.
Right.
Then there's no point to talk to you if you're either one of those extremes.
Right.
If you're always a yes, there's no need to come talk to you. If you're always a no, there's no need to come talk to you. So that's where you hear things out based on the merits of what it is we're discussing and go forward from there.
Absolutely. And then one thing I think that what you just said, it hits on a point I want to make to my lobbyist friends who are listening out there. Don't overlook freshmen. Go talk and get to know them because you never know when a vote's going to come one way or the other that you're going to need that freshman vote or that new vote. Or, I see a lot of times, I think the biggest lobbyist mistake that has happened, especially on controversial stuff, is when they go and only talk to the corner offices and those they think that are being able to direct policy. That's fair. You need to because those folks do make those decisions, but they can't always control every vote. And we've seen some things go down before. And if they would have just listened and talked to everybody that they could, like, Todd Carver.
It's going to be a tight margin.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean, there's going to be... there's very little room to lose anybody.
Right, right, especially with you guys.
Yeah, with us, I mean, it's very tight. So that all the more reason, I think that will give us better government, though. I think that will cause us to work together, in ways that we maybe didn't when we had a full-fledged, a supermajority that you could lose 2 or 3 people and still have a supermajority. So I think that gives us better government as a citizen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's what folks want to hear is that you're going to go up there, you're going to listen, you're going to bring Mooresville to Raleigh, not Raleigh to Mooresville. And that's a big issue. Now, do you have again, if you want to know anything more about Todd, he will be up on the NCLEG website coming up. And Todd, if you...
I'm going to give out my personal email address.
Okay,
does that sound
do
like
it.
a huge mistake right there?
No,
it's
not a bit.
RichardCarver@yahoo.com.
Yeah.
And if you had a question or something like that, that's been the way you could get in touch with me for 30 years. So, so send me a message. I'll do anything I can to help you. If you've got a concern, we've been working to get our our legislative assistant up in Raleigh on the books and ready to go. So reach out to me. I'll help you any way I can if you got something going on that we can help you get going.
Thank you so much, Todd Carver, for being
Thank
here.
You, Vicki. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with you on behalf of Mooresville and all of our districts. So thank you so much for listening to We're Just Saying. Have a wonderful weekend.
Serving you better than ever before. 105.